Good morning, good evening, whenever you're listening or watching to this. My name is Josh here at Cherry Drank. Another episode of Drank and Champagne. Bringing my co-host here, Mr. Andrew Champagne. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there, man. It's been a long 2 weeks, actually. We skipped last week. Real life got in the way. If any of you out there object to that, we will refund any and all dues that you paid in order to listen to this podcast. But no, happy to be back here. Had a couple of really good days. My dad was in town over this past weekend, so we had a lot of fun. Went out to Golden Gate Fields on Sunday. Actually had a really good day playing horses on Monday. We both hit both pick fours, so that wound up being pretty good. The late pick four was a little over $300, so we wound up doing okay there. But he was able to wing his way back east today, so he's back in New York, and I am dealing with an empty apartment here in the Bay Area. But we were able to have a lot of fun, so that was awesome.
That's really cool. This past weekend I was actually playing in the Hawthorne contest once again. They had a kind of a last chance.
How'd you do?
NHC. I zeroed out all my entries. It was a bloodbath. It was not good. I hung out on Friday. I hung out most of the day with Matthew Bickey. Shout out to Matthew.
Get well soon, Matthew.
Yeah, he caught COVID. He thinks on the way back. I literally spent the entire weekend with the guy, and I'm feeling a-okay. So I seem to have dodged it. Knock on wood. But yeah. So hopefully Matthew gets better. We went. So Friday we kind of sat at the same table and we had a good time. We actually had a really nice dinner at it's a chain restaurant out here called Wildfire. It's part of the Lettuce Entertain You group of restaurants. So they own like Maggiano's. What's the French one? Mon Ami B. And a couple other ones that I think have multiple locations. I know there's a couple locations in Vegas, so I don't know if it's just like
there's a couple of Maggiano's out in California. I've been to one in West LA, so yeah.
Yeah, so but it's like they're kind of I guess their steakhouse concept. It was really good. We just had a really great meal. They had we had a nice little cocktail and we had some good I had a nice scotch and yeah, we just had a good time. And really, Matthew last time said that, that's his favorite part of tournaments. And I'll say, I agree with him. There's definitely something to be said about the camaraderie that comes with playing in these tournaments. In the November contest, my friend Sheldon flew in from Canada and played in the contest, and we once again we also went out and had a great meal. Our friend Brian Duransky obviously qualified for NHC on that Sunday, and honestly, Andrew, I know you're fired up about something else, and so I don't want to get you too fired up, but really, it's that camaraderie aspect is probably the only thing keeping something like NHC alive at this point. I have a couple of friends who are very sharp players. And right around this time of year, if they don't have a seat, they start trying to qualify, like they play a lot of live money contests. So occasionally they'll get fourth or fifth, right? And everyone takes the BC seats first. It's the NHC seats end up kind of being the leftovers. But my friend said in that quote, yeah, I want to go to NHC so I can just fire at the horses with the boys. So, a couple of us are going out that weekend to cheer on Brian, playing the last chance, first chance. And hey, worst case, it's a weekend in Vegas. We eat some really good foods. We fire at the craps tables, and we have a good time. So, it was a good weekend. It was a fun weekend. I wish horse playing went a little bit better, but it was kind of unfortunate. It was an unfortunate weekend. Really, one kind of beat that probably might have made a difference in my weekend. I had a 70-1 horse I really liked, and I was on my last like $20 or $40 in my bankroll. That you started with a $200 bankroll, and so I just win bet the horse. I didn't do anything else. I think I put $20 to win on the horse. And honestly, if that horse wins, it puts me right up there. Obviously, the horse runs second. And the other horse I liked, who happened to be like the 8-5 favorite, won the race. So if I would have, used a little bit of, like an exacta backup there, it was paying like $221 for $2, I believe.
Wow.
So if I would have just not played the win bet, but maybe backed it up with a $10 exacta box or something, I mean, I would have been right there still. So kind of unfortunate, but the with that small of a bankroll that you have and the number I thought you needed to get to, um, I thought you had to be aggressive. I the first day on Friday, I talked with Tony Joe, and I both of us were just absolutely flabbergasted at the totals. And Tony was right there. Tony had like between 1,200 and 600 basically every race, and he ended up zeroing out. And what's funny is like he could have stood pat and he probably would have gotten the seat, but he's just like he in no way did he think that everyone was going to be so passive. He's like in the last race the leaderboard didn't move. Nobody even bet the last race. So it was just a weird tournament. I thought the totals are going to be higher. Really, you only needed to get to about 1,200 to 1,400, I think, to win a seat this weekend. And normally it's about 10x, so it would have been about 2,000 plus.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a weird weekend, but like I said, it was a ton of fun. I always love going out there. Shout out to Emily, Optics Emily, if she watches this. Emily Gullickson. She's always great to talk with, and yeah, so we chatted a ton. And I know I've been meaning to get her asked to see if she would come on live stream. I did see that they're going to start doing a Friday live stream. It looks like with Hawthorne at noon. So if you guys like watching live streams, I think noon on the Hawthorne channel, her and Hawthorne Jim are going to be doing a live stream. So check that out. But Andrew, I feel like I've kept you chained up too long, right? I know you've won, and this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart as well, right? And I know, like, because NHC's kind of right around the corner. FloCal is this weekend, and a bunch of us are pretty regular tourney players. So tournaments are on the mind, and this is a track that has a really nice tournament that has also kind of been ruined a little bit. But yeah, Sam Houston still not exporting their signal outside of
1 minute
Texas.
before we get started, for those of you out there who are listening in podcast form, I'm about to drink a foreign substance out of my red Solo cup for encouragement.
It's Dr. Pepper.
All right. I'm going to preface this with a disclaimer. If people are going to be mad at me, I would like them to be mad at me for things I actually say. Josh, I don't know if you've seen this, but horse racing Twitter has this fun way of people trying to make you say something you didn't say. And I'm going to put this out here right now. Yeah, there you go. During the Chad Brown situation, I was accused of taking sides, and somebody tagged our friends Bill and Nico, who run the Twitter Spaces, with the screenshot of me blocking them. Didn't much appreciate that. There were a couple of comments that were made with regard to my pointing out that Jeff Mullins Jr. is apparently the greatest trainer in the history of horse racing over at Santa Anita. There was a guy that said, "Oh, you wouldn't be saying that if it was at Saratoga." Look up everything I've written about Juan Vasquez. Look up everything I've written about Marcus Vitali getting stalls at Saratoga. Do your research if you're going to come after me, and come after me with things I actually say. And it is
How
with
about your
that in
dad getting hit? Your dad getting hit in the crossfire of a really bad joke. It's just a champagne thing.
Yeah, that's the family curse. We can't stay invisible. Some people like us, some people hate us. No one is neutral. That's just what we do. I've come to terms with that. It's fine. Here's the thing. Our eyes turn to the Lone Star State and the situation with horse racing in Texas. Going to give you a brief preface as to what went down here. Of course, HISA went into effect in 2022. The Texas Racing Commission opposed HISA. There was a very long standoff in early 2022. Now, I should note, Texas was not alone in not liking HISA. The state of Louisiana hates HISA. There are other HBPA organizations that wish HISA did not exist. There was a letter that was circulated that was penned by Wesley Ward and Larry Ravelli. People don't like HISA, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with anyone making logical criticisms of this piece of legislation. Is it a perfect piece of legislation? No, it is not. Having said that, if the previous model of state commissions assembling everything piecemeal had worked, we wouldn't be in this situation. At least that's the way I see it. You can agree or disagree as you see fit, whatever. The people that are challenging HISA and doing so in what I would term a constructive way. They're either working with HISA or chatting with lawyers or whatever, or waiting for things to work through the court systems. That's fine. Then you have Texas. On July 1st, the Texas Racing Commission stopped exporting signals from Texas racetracks to out-of-state simulcast providers. Essentially, the only way that you can wager on horse racing in Texas is if you go to a horse racing venue in Texas, or if you happen to be in another country. Canadians can wager on Sam Houston just fine. In other words, some of the data that I'm about to spew there, Sheldon, if you're listening, it's all your fault for not betting more. Now, this past summer and fall, we didn't notice it quite as much. There were a couple of days at Lone Star that were dramatically affected. Ed DeRosa had a write-up up on Horse Racing Nation about this. But after Lone Star comes Remington Park. Remington Park is in Oklahoma. They run for 4.5 to 5 months. And as a result, it sort of went on the back burner. And I think a lot of people thought, oh, this is just a brief stalemate. It'll pass over and we'll wind up with something in place. It might not be permanent. It might not be good, but we'll have something in place by the time Sam Houston starts in January of 2023. Josh, hit the button.
Which one?
That's an okay one. I was going for that bum, 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 but that's a good one too. In hindsight, Josh, either of those work. There's no solution. None. We haven't talked about Sam Houston much on this show since the meet started. If Carl Broberg's numbers that he passed along after opening day are to be believed, and I think they should be, I believe Carl has no reason to lie about something like this. Sam Houston's opening night card last year did $3.3 million in handle. That's a legitimate number, and that is a number that the people that work on the front side of Sam Houston busted their ass in order to achieve. They have spent the last 5 or 6 years molding Sam Houston from this forgotten D-level meet in Texas in the winter to a legitimate B option for a lot of handicappers and for a lot of horse people too. You're getting barns like Steve Asmussen, barns like Carl Broberg. Brad Cox had a couple of horses down at Sam Houston. Big names, names that you recognize. It became a fun track to follow and a really fun track, Josh, for players like us to play with the 12% multi-race exotic takeout.
Mm-hmm.
This year, on opening day at Sam Houston, the track grossed, I believe it was $133,000. For those of you doing the math out there, that is a 96% year-on-year drop in handle. It has not gotten better. I believe going into last week, that number was at 93 or 94%. First of all, before we go any further and we skewer the people that deserve to be skewered, my heart breaks for the people that work on the front side at Sam Houston. I'm talking about the racing office. I'm talking about the marketing people. I'm talking about everybody. And I mean everybody, including some people that aren't at Sam Houston anymore. The Chris Griffins, the Jessica Paquettes, a lot of people that were incredibly passionate about Sam Houston, about Texas racing, that were determined to build Sam Houston up into a legitimate option. They get to where they are a legitimate option, and they get served what I can only call a shit sandwich of a situation. And why? This is what I don't get. And this is something that I would very much appreciate if someone from the TRC happens to be watching this. Find me and let's talk about this in a civil way. Why would you kill a successful business? I understand there's probably somebody there that doesn't see this as killing a business. I understand they're probably thinking, no, we're fighting the good fight against HISA. We'll wind up getting through all of this and we'll come out on the other side steps ahead of a lot of other jurisdictions that are trying to do the same thing. How's that working out for you with a week and a half until the Houston Racing Festival? Josh, do you know how much they give out in purses during the Houston Racing Festival?
Off the top of my head, I do not, but I know that there are a couple of very big races out there.
Yes, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $800,000 or $900,000. That's a big number for a track that's not all that huge. It's a big day, though. You've got stakes races on tap, a couple of graded ones, too. Steve Asmussen is sending Pauline's Pearl there. She's probably going to go favored in the Houston Ladies Classic, a race that a couple of years ago was won by a little horse named Latruska, who wound up winning an Eclipse Award. Good horses show up there. Having said that, $800,000 or $900,000 in purses. When is someone going to point out, hey, are we sure this is a good idea when we're not going to get 20% of that back in handle, even before takeout, even before breakage? And oh, by the way, we've still got 3 or 4 months of a meet after this. Texas Racing Commission, you have royally screwed this up. You have royally exposed yourself, not as a forward-thinking office, but as an office that is determined to serve your own agenda above the industry that you are supposed to be governing. You might have hoodwinked a couple of people, but I'm going to share an exchange that I had with a trainer a couple of days ago. Guy by the name of Bentley Combs, who has a very small string, saddled a couple of horses in New York actually last year. I believe actually won a race at Saratoga, so good on him for that. But there was, I believe it was Carl Broberg's tweet actually, that Bentley Combs responded to. And he said, and I'm quoting on this, not having interstate simulcasting is better than going along with HISA. I responded to this, and I would say, reasonably respectful in the circumstances. I said, with all due respect, that's a horrible take. Say what you just said to the people on the front side at Sam Houston who might not have jobs after this meet is over. Now, he didn't respond to that. He did follow me on Twitter, and I respect that. I respect going the follow route and, at the very least, acknowledging someone who disagrees with you. I appreciate that. If that's the view that is held by a majority of horse people, forget surviving the meet. Josh, I don't see how they survive the next week and a half without significant pain. How can you give out $800,000 or $900,000 in purses when every day you're handling $100,000 to $150,000 for on track, and it gets better? We started this with contest talk. I'm going to circle back to that. Josh, you were talking about flying into Sam Houston and playing that on track contest, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Caleb and myself were talking about playing it.
Say you look at the form and you see a horse that's 5-1 and it's a live money contest and you love the horse. If you hammer that horse in a small pool, what are you going to do?
That is exactly why we are not playing a contest. Caleb
And
and
I
I have
believe that
decided.
logic, Josh, is shared by a lot of smart people. Can you honestly tell me the TRC even considered that?
I don't think they care.
They don't. And I would very much like to know what's going on here, because the only conclusion that any person of sound mind can draw with the way they are acting right now is they don't care if Sam Houston fails in the short term. And that's wrong. That is a disservice to a lot of really good people. Josh, I told you I was fired up. I believe it's justifiably so. This is wrong. People need to hold the TRC's feet to the fire on this. And the TRC, if they have any sense left, needs to stop what they're doing and go about this the way everyone else is, because their current strategy isn't just not working, it's blowing up in their face. And very soon, the Texas Racing Commission may not have racing to govern.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. And Andrew, I think sometimes, I think the reason why I like having you on here and I like doing this podcast, I come from this completely from a place of ignorance on the backside and the front side on all that, right? I come at it 100% from this as a better, and in being a fan of the sport, right? Um, and I think you come in with this with a lot more background, right? You have connections, these people on the front side, on the back side, a little bit, right?
Certainly
But
on the front side, I know a lot of
yeah,
really good people. On the back side, I know some really good people, and I know some people that would very much prefer I do not exist. That's probably part of the reason I don't work in horse racing on a full time basis anymore.
um, and I think you brought up a lot of really good points. And all I can share is my view from this as a better. Sam Houston was probably maybe my second or third highest handle track last year. I am one of the biggest fans of Sam Houston. Caleb, our co-host, is another huge fan of Sam Houston. Um, I know a ton of bettors that are huge fans of Sam Houston. All of this goodwill that they built up with this 12% takeout on these horizontal bets, which is the bet of the like that's the bet that people want to play, right?
Yeah.
Whenever you listen to our podcast, you listen to other people talk horizontal sequences all the time, right? I've brought this up numerous times, right? That I think that we've kind of jumped the shark a little bit, and you know it's gotten to the point where like people also need to realize that single race bets like exactas and tries, there's still value in them, right? But 12% takeout on pick threes, on doubles, pick fours, like that's
Pick
unheard of.
threes and doubles are the big thing, because I agree with you to an extent. I think if we're solely focusing on pick fours and pick fives, we're losing the forest and the trees a little bit. There's nothing wrong with playing doubles, especially if you're playing a pick four or a pick five ticket and you wind up single in some aspects. In that instance, if you don't play a double, you're a fool. And Sam Houston, in the past couple of years, has really catered to players like that. And you can find surprisingly high payouts between the low takeout and the big fields too, Josh. They get full fields down there.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Uh, think about playing a pick five player, right? They're playing the low takeout 15% pick five at your name your favorite track. They lose the first leg. They feel like they have some pretty strong opinions in maybe the third and fourth leg of their pick four. What their pick five, which is now the second and third leg of their pick four. They run that pick four back. They've almost doubled the take that they have to pay into this in most tracks, because at one track like I think at Naira specifically, the pick five is at I think a 15% takeout, but the pick four is I think at 24% takeout.
That sounds about right. Yeah. And there are some tracks where the early pick five is 15% and the late pick five is a significantly higher
Yeah,
payout
Santa
or
Anita's like
takeout,
that.
excuse
Yeah,
me. Yeah.
but at Sam Houston, you can actually target the pick four and not feel like,
No,
hey, I'm doing something really stupid by playing the pick four because of how high the takeout is. I mean,
it promotes smarter wagers too, because if you're looking at this and you've got, say, a $40 bankroll, you can feel more inclined to press your stronger options without worrying about the track taking an absurd percentage of your money. It just promotes better wagering, it promotes more frequent wagering. Shocker, that works.
yeah, and over the past couple of years, they just had seen an exponential growth in their handle, and like I said, it's just a shame. I I love playing a track. We would do live streams for it. We would do previews for the big days. I mean, Caleb and I literally would play this Thursday night, Friday night. I mean, we played it all the time, and it's just a shame what happened. And on top of it, the contest during the Houston Racing Festival is just completely ruined. I mean, I was talking with Caleb. Caleb and I were like, all right, they're going to figure this out. We're going to go. Caleb was in town for work. I was going to fly in. We're going to play this contest, try and get an NHC seat or whatever. I think it is NHC seats is what they were giving. And we started thinking about it and we saw the handle and we're like, oh, well, if we have to bet, I think the rules are you have to bet your entire bankroll in like the first 5 races of the day or something. So that's like basically like averaging out $200 a race, right? Well, if they're only handling, 10 to $15,000 a race,
You're
that's
potentially altering the pools with every wager.
and now think about how many people are going to play in that contest. I am basically putting my money into probably what would be the sharpest pool in the entire country at that time. Because think about it, right? Saratoga has very very sharp has a very sharp pool, I believe. But everybody around the country is playing into that. You got people on track. You got a lot of on track money, right? That's not necessarily always smart. You can offset some of that smart money when the pool is literally going to be 90 to 95% contest players. I mean, it was just a no brainer for us not to play in it because like you said, the pool is small. So if I play $100 double, a $50 double, $50 exacta, I'm killing my own payout. I'm basically cannibalizing my own payout. Secondly, all of the other people are going to be playing like that. It just makes no sense. And I feel for it because I know I think his name is I think it's Trey Styles is out there and he's promoting. He's always constantly promoting.
He's one of many really good handicappers and really good people. Also, a shout out to Nick Tamaro, the track announcer and
Hmm.
morning line guy. There are a lot of really passionate people there. Everybody in the GM's office, everyone in the marketing office. These people give a damn, and they're being cut off at the knees by this battle that's going on 9 miles above their heads for ridiculous reasons. It pisses me off. And I try not to get overly worked up. I really do try. It's one of those things that I think you learn is picking your battles and really taking stances where you're passionate. I'm passionate about this. This is bullshit.
Yeah, like I've mentioned numerous times, like it really is a shame because I played this track basically every single night I
Me
could.
too.
And just for it to just kind of go this way, like it's just really unfortunate. They definitely, there was talk. Everyone thought that they were going to figure this out by the time Sam Houston came
And to
around.
be fair, we're recording this on Wednesday, January 18th. It is not inconceivable that they have something in place by the big day. Having said that, we thought that was going to happen by opening day. We thought that was going to happen maybe a week or two into the meet. Nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's just a shame, but like hopefully they get it figured out. Maybe we get a couple of months of the meet still, but yeah, it really for their big day coming up here intended. And like for me at this point, it's too late for me to be like, yeah, I guess I'll fly down to Houston and play in this contest. Like I've made other plans. I spent more money at this Hawthorne contest.
Mhm.
And now I'm thinking I might just play the last chance, first chance at NHC. I might
Yeah,
just do 2 entries there
for
because
sure. And here's the other thing, too, Josh. We're talking about this. And let's just say some miracle happens and the TRC and HISA wind up coming to an agreement. If the Houston Racing Festival draws massive handle, who do you think is going to be the first organization to take credit for it?
Texas.
The TRC. Why would I support that? in any way, shape, or form when they've spent the last, let's see, this started in July, when they've spent the last upwards of 6 months sending a lot of good people up a creek because reasons. Why would I do that?
Yeah. I mean, I still would, but that's just because I'm chasing low takeout.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm one of those, horrible principled people who, feels for a lot of the people that are really, really suffering right now. I hear you. And look, there's nothing more that I want than for Sam Houston to get back to the way it was the last 5 years or so. It was a fun track to handicap. It was a fun track to put tickets together for. It was a really, really cool thing. But horse racing has shown that if you have a really, really cool thing, it's going to wind up doing a lot of things to make it less cool as time goes along. We wonder why horse racing's not catching on. It's stuff like this.
hmm. Yeah, which talking about stuff not catching on, we have Derby points up for
Derby
grabs this weekend
points.
finally. Um,
Le Bon Tom's Relay at the Fairgrounds.
yeah,
Yes, my name is
I'm actually
Champagne and I
curious.
just butchered the French language. I'm sorry.
I'm curious. When you were working, I mean, you still obviously are in the media, but you focus. I think your focus is much more broad now, right? It's not just horse racing; it's
Yeah,
gambling, it's other
yeah.
stuff, online gaming, all that stuff. But when you were 100% focused on horse racing, um, when is the time that the switch really flipped for you? Was it Lecomte? Was it this first weekend of Fairgrounds, or were you more like, because like a lot of people I know, right? They're just kind of they're waiting for that second one, right? What is it? Is it the Risen
That's
Star,
the
right?
Risen Star at Fairgrounds. I can tell you personally, for me, Derby preps have really started with the Holy Bowl, which is either the last weekend in January or the first weekend in February. That's usually when I start really, really paying close attention. Now, going back to last year's Lecomte, we actually saw the unveiling of a very, very, very nice horse, even if he didn't win. Epicenter did all the dirty work up front in last year's Lecomte and got nailed right on the wire by Call Me Midnight. Of course, Epicenter would go on to win the Risen Star, the Louisiana Derby, second in the Kentucky Derby, second in the Preakness, won the Jim Dandy, won the Travers. Yeah, the Lecomte produced a really nice racehorse there. Now, bold prediction here, Josh. I got to tell you, I don't think there is an epicenter type in this field of 8. It is not a bad group, but you really don't see any potential layover types, any potential monsters in this field. Brad Cox has a couple of horses, and one of them is probably going to go off favored. We've got a horse that in his debut looked like the latest fastest horse in the world for Steve Asmussen. I was there for Echo Again's debut. Horse looked like $1,000,000. Hasn't done a whole heck of a lot since. We've got a couple of horses from the Paulo Lobo barn that have fetched a combined total of $1.85 million at auction, one of which is related to Rachel Alexandra. It's a fun field. We don't have morning line odds as of yet, so take that for whatever it's worth. Personally, I think the morning line favorite and the post time favorite is probably going to be Instant Coffee, right? From the Brad Cox barn, horse number 7 in the program.
Um,
I hope
yeah,
I'm wrong because I really like that horse.
uh, I think so. I think it's gonna. I think it's either Instant Coffee or it's gonna be Echo again. Um, I mean, I'm not really Instant Coffee. I'm a little bit interested in, but I kind of have um your feeling that I think the horse is going to be very short. So it really it's really kind of be price dependent, and we're going to talk more about this race and some of the later races in this card next tomorrow or tonight, depending when you're listening to on Thursday night on our live stream. But yeah, like first pass here, I mean I definitely wasn't interested in Echo again. I think the Springboard Mile um, kind of showed us that I don't know. This is just kind of an also ran. I think at this point, maybe might do something sprinting. cutting back. I kind of was surprised to see Echo again entered here. I thought we would see the horse cut back and maybe, maybe like I said, turn into a sprinter. But yeah, instant coffee does, was kind of where my eyes went to right away. The other horse I was a little interested in was the 8. Two fills here for Larry Ravelli, Jareth Loveberry here. It's a Patricia's Hope owned horse, which is Larry Ravelli's kind of main patron. And this horse ran a really, really impressive race on the streets at Street Sense. Now, the one word of caution I would have for that is this horse, has a really nice number there. It was also in the slop, and hard spun tends to like having horses run in the slop. So it could have just been one of those things where the horse freaked on the off going, and the horse kind of had an easy time of it. There weren't really fast fractions there. They went 23 and 4, 48 and 1. And the horse kind of just sat just off the leader and just passed and opened up. So I don't know if that's, strictly just, hey, this is a mud horse only. I don't know what the weather's looking like for this weekend, but hey, maybe if there is some rain, this is a horse that you kind of look at that has done it over the off going. But I think that on the Fairgrounds track, you do want to be forwardly placed. You don't want to be coming from 5, 6, 7 lengths off the pace here, and this is a horse that's going to be close to the front end, and I think might be dangerous, might be an underneath play. And is definitely kind of got that versatile run style where it doesn't necessarily need the lead and is not going to get the lead, I don't think, in this spot with Echo again sitting there on the rail.
So I did just take a look at the weather forecast for Saturday. Again, we're recording this on Wednesday night, so take this for whatever it's worth. They're saying 50% chance of showers, so certainly something to watch. You mentioned hard spun. The name I'm more drawn to is the Dam Sire, a horse named General Quarters. Very good mud influence that you don't see a whole heck of a lot of in 2023 pedigrees. I think the Street Sense was a freak effort. I think he bounces back to his regular form, and I don't know if that regular form is good enough. Look at the race 2 back. That's the Breeders' Futurity, and he ran 7th in that race. Instant Coffee ran 4th with not a great trip on that particular occasion. And Instant Coffee, by the way, rated in 10th out of 14 horses that day. Keeneland's mile and a 16th configuration includes a very, very short stretch. That is not kind to closers. I thought Instant Coffee ran well to be 4th that day, came right back with a strong performance in the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club at Churchill Downs. Didn't have a lot of pace to rate behind that day, a 50 half mile, but managed to win in the kind of professional fashion you want to see out of a 2-year-old horse late in the season, going into his 3-year-old year. The pedigree is distance top and bottom by Bolt d'Oro out of an Uncle Mo mare. We know 2 turns is not going to be a problem. Luis Saez sees fit to ride. He probably had several options. There's a lot to like there, and I also like how he's going to sit with the likely race shape. If we go through these horses here one by one, Echo again has to go from the rail. I don't think there's a scenario where Echo again takes back from that inside draw. He's going to go. Dennington, not a lot of speed there. Does add blinkers, so might be a little bit closer. Bromley is an interesting case. This is one of 2 Paulo Lobo trainees, 2 for 2 at sprint distances with a pedigree that doesn't overwhelm you with distance. This is a horse that has shown some speed going 6 and 6.5 furlongs. I can't imagine he's going to be too far off of it. Number 4, Confidence Game. I'm not crazy about this horse. Did have an absolutely perfect trip last time out and capitalized on that. Going wire to wire. I can't see that one taking back after the win he had last time out. His best game is going to be up front. We get to Tappett's Conquest, the other Brad Cox trainee in here. It's worth noting that Tappett's Conquest is cross-entered in another race earlier on in the Fairgrounds card, so this one might not run. If he doesn't run, I think that is a ringing endorsement for instant coffee because I think that means Brad Cox knows he's sitting on a loaded gun with that one. Tappett's Conquest, a nice horse, though. Second beat and a half length on debut at Saratoga, stretched out to a mile and a 16th impressively at Churchill. Hasn't run since October, but a consistent work tab at Fairgrounds, not without a shot. We get to Itzos. This is a horse that I think is going to take some sentimental money. Look at the dam. A lot of Kim. Josh, you're a fairly new racing fan. Does that name ring a bell?
Nope.
Dam of Rachel Alexandra. That horse is going to take a lot, and I mean a lot, of sentimental money. And it's not like this horse can't run at all. This is a horse that faltered badly in the debut at Churchill, but was going pretty fast early on and might have needed the race. Comes back at Turfway over the synthetic and is professional. I don't want to say overwhelming, but 72 Beyer speed figure, wins by a length and a half, second time out. It's the improvement you want to see. But this is a horse that should probably be 15 to 1. That's probably going to be 5 to 1 and could well act as a takeout reducer for the rest of the field. We get to Instant Coffee. We get to Mr. Phil. That's the field, or two Phils, excuse me. That's the field of 8 for the Lecomte. Derby points on the line. A race that produced a pretty nice horse last year. I think Instant Coffee has the potential to be a horse you want to watch. Do I think Instant Coffee is a horse that's going to be really high up on the Derby contenders lists that everyone's going to start writing, possibly self-included? That's called foreshadowing, kids. I don't think he's a top 10 type horse, but is this a horse that may well find himself at the starting gate on the first Saturday in May? Sure.
Yeah, like I said, I really like Instant Coffee as well. I'm with you there.
Knocked me out of a pick 4 in his debut. He did. I remember because I was on stream with you guys.
That's funny. But yeah, I'm definitely interested a little bit in this 8 here. I looked at the 4 confidence game. I know you kind of brought him up. Last out had a really nice figure. Is coming off a bit of a layoff here. But yeah, I don't know. I think with the early run style, might be a little bit compromised with depending on what Echo again does, as well as the other the sprinter that's stretching out Bromley.
Yeah.
I thought that there might be a
So
little bit of
Josh,
speed
real
there.
quick, we mentioned that the Lotta Kim pedigree. Dam of Confidence game is a horse named Eblouissant. That name ring a bell at all?
Nope.
Half sister to Zenyatta.
Mm.
I remember there being a lot of fanfare when she debuted at Santa Anita back when I worked for HRTV. The relatives of Zenyatta running or doing anything for a long time was social media gold. It was, and I got to tell you, when Zenyatta's foals started running, I still remember being in the TVG studios when Cosmic One debuted at Santa Anita. And when Joaquin Jaime on the screen looked at the odds board and said, Cosmic One is 1 to 9. Josh, do you have a Chariots from Heaven sound on your soundboard there?
I have no idea what
Well,
Chariots from
then
Heaven is, but
you're gonna have to bear with me on this because it sounded like Chariots from Heaven. Because any money that was bet on that horse was dead money, and anytime anybody said otherwise on social media, they got skewered. But guess what? We were all right. And that sound you're hearing is the Zenyatta mob. That's a couple levels down that have blowtorches and a whole bunch of really ugly things, and they're chanting things. And sorry, yeah, I had blame in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and Zenyatta was never going by, even if they went around again. Watch the gallop out, people.
there's the
Yeah, I'm
Zenyatta mob.
pissing off a lot of people tonight, and I don't really care.
Funny enough, our friend Caitlin Free also does not a big fan of. Actually, he's just not a fan of Zenyatta.
See, I have no problem with Zenyatta. I think Zenyatta is absolutely wonderful. I think a number of people that are fans of Zenyatta and are incredibly vocal and who put a whole bunch of money on her offspring at the windows for sentimental reasons don't necessarily have the game's best handicapping interests at heart. But I'm
All right,
grateful to them for that because that means more money for me.
So do you think that the Zenyatta mob is worse than the Chromies?
I'm going to preface this because the answer is I don't know, but I will say this. The preliminary possible nominees for the Horse Racing Hall of Fame this year came out and were sent to voters a couple of weeks ago. Shout out to Brian Bouye, the communications guy for the Hall of Fame, does a tremendous job keeping voters informed with everything they need. We were able to submit
Hold
potential
on, wait,
candidates.
wait, hold on. But are you a voter?
Yes, I am.
How have you not? Where was the kind of the Andrew Champagne there? Like, sent out the email to all voters, of which I am one. And you puff your chest and everything. We missed
No,
that.
no, I've no interest in doing that. It's because there's a bigger point here. California Chrome is going to be on the ballot this year, and he's a cinch. Two-time Horse of the Year, won two Triple Crown races, won a Dubai World Cup, won the Pacific Classic over this little horse named Beholder. I don't know if we've heard of her, but she went into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot last year. She was quite good, Josh, quite good. There are always going to be a couple of people, and I don't know where this got started. I don't know how this has gone unchecked, but people who seem to think that California Chrome was wildly overrated. And I don't know how a two-time Horse of the Year and an earner of $15 million dollars, who ran second behind Arrogate in one Breeders' Cup Classic and third behind Bayern in the Bayern Mug Shared Belief at the Start Breeders' Cup, I don't know how a horse like that can be overrated in any sense of the term. People, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. If you feel otherwise, look at the standards for Hall of Fame induction and tell me which one he doesn't meet. So, as far
Well,
as comparing the Chromies to Zenyatta people, I don't know. Um, all I know is whenever any of Zenyatta's offspring ran, I made a lot of money betting the other way.
I don't know if I've ever seen a California Chrome race before.
What?
Oh no, I have. Sorry, I have. I saw the Byron race, so
Yeah.
I've seen, but mostly for the start because someone
Yeah.
had brought up how he just like completely mugged some other horse, and
Yeah,
someone's like,
Bayern
yeah,
Muggs shared belief to the point where I've probably mentioned it on this show before. I know I've mentioned it on a whole bunch of occasions, but a reporter asked Joe Talamo, who was riding Moreno for Eric Gio in that race, Joe, what'd you see at the start? Talamo looks at the reporter. I think it might have been Scott Hazelton, but he looks at the reporter, sort of rolls his eyes, and says, shared belief sideways. One of the great quotes that I have ever heard from any jockey in my
hmm.
time covering horse racing. And of course, no change. And we can all, by the way, agree. Let's see. That was 2014 that Breeders' Cup Classic was. So it's going to be 9 years in November. Horse racing people, we can all come together and admit that was just a batshit terrible call.
I'll take your word for it.
Go watch it again. Watch it again, and you will see sanctioned mugging.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times. I think it might have been probably the first time I saw that race was when I was wallowing in sorrow after the maximum security DQ. And someone's like, "Oh, if they didn't DQ Bayern, they shouldn't have DQ'd maximum security." And so I had to see how bad it was. It was
It
pretty
was
bad.
bad.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah,
Um,
the maximum security DQ, by the way, I had no feelings for or against it. I was just seeing a whole bunch of people suffer for 20 minutes, and I knew that one group of people was really going to get screwed. I bet Improbable and Tacitus in that race. So if you want to boo my handicapping, feel free. That was not my finest derby.
dude, just that like the killer for me about that race wasn't just the maximum security DQ, but I was live to four horses in that race,
Yeah.
and I was live to maximum security, improbable, game winner, and roadster. I had the Bafferts plus maximum security, and to whiff with all four of those was pretty
Yeah.
was pretty bad. I actually, honestly, maximum security was probably my second or third choice in that. Or I think I probably it was my third choice in that race. I thought game
Hang on.
winner.
So maximum security was a defensive B.
I actually
Thank
actually
you.
at to be fair, at that point, I think I was actually a being. So I was live to all my horses in that race.
Mhm.
But yeah, I thought game winner. I was like, oh, like yeah, he's gonna win this race, I thought improbable was the other Baffert that you wanted, and then I thought maximum security and roadster was the well Baffert trains this one, and I don't want to get beat by the other Baffert, but
Yeah,
live and learn.
indeed, that's for sure.
I'm
Live
sure
and learn.
people are tired of hearing me talk about the that Derby DQ. So, but on that note, Andrew, what do you got going on this weekend? Anything fun and interesting coming out?
Lunar New Year. My fiance's family are doing a whole bunch of stuff, and that's going to be a lot of fun. As far as anything else goes, starting to prep for Hawaii, actually. I'll be there
Ooh,
in, yeah, it's January 18th when we're recording this. So exactly a month. Pretty stoked about that. I have Honolulu's forecast in my phone, and I look at that every couple of days when I want to get really, really excited. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Very much looking forward to that. Also, officially booked the March Madness Vegas trip. Dad and I are going. We always do
where are you
that.
staying?
Um, so you're going to need to get the boo button ready for this one. Um, to people that run the Las Vegas resorts, whether that's Caesars, MGM, any of the other Titans, um, if there's a recession, they don't know it. The prices for hotels for March Madness are absolutely outrageous. You're looking at $2,500 before even taxes or resort fees. It's insane. So as a result, my father and I are staying at the fabulous Palace Station resort.
Okay,
And Josh, you know what the Palace Station is most well known for in the past maybe 10, 15 years?
Oyster Bar.
That's one of them. I have heard many good things about the Oyster Bar, but that's where O.J. Simpson got arrested for armed robbery when he was trying to steal his memorabilia back. And that was the charge that stuck.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so we'll be able to see that. There is an In and Out Burger about a quarter mile away from the hotel that I imagine I'll be eating at least once. So not a total loss there, but on a serious note,
Are you guys gonna stay off strip, or are you guys gonna try
well,
and
we've both
go?
got a whole bunch of tickets that we need to cash at a Caesars property, so that's going to actually, be one of the first things we do. As far as where we're watching games, I don't know if anyone has any ins. I'm an easy guy to find, and we'll be incredibly grateful for that. But on a serious note, March Madness in Vegas is just plain fun. If you haven't done it at least once, you should. The problem is Vegas is getting just a little too pricey. And if you really want to have your eyes bug out, go look at what they're charging for hotel rooms when F1 comes to town in November.
I actually they sent me a comp room for that time, but
Really?
I had to buy a ticket, and the
And how
ticket
much are the tickets?
itself, like 4 grand.
That do
I
it.
think it was, yeah,
Buy 4 grand and we'll put you in a cardboard box 2 blocks from the course.
yeah. Um, yeah, Andrew, I'm gonna make a deal with you. Okay,
Oh, okay. Hit me.
all right. If I win NHC, I'm gonna come back to Vegas that next week with you, and I will get us set up somewhere. All right. So you
Shake
have a
on that.
chance. You have a chance to root. You have something to root for me. Okay.
Well, I'll
So
tell you this. I'll root for you. If you're not in it, I'll root for Brian Duransky. If Brian Duransky gets blown out, I'll just root for chaos in general.
there we go. But yeah, so you guys can catch us at wrong underscore lead on Twitter. Obviously, I'm at Cherry Drank. Andrew is at Andrew Champagne. We'll be back next week with another fun episode. And yeah, if you're listening to this Thursday morning, we will be live Thursday night, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, our usual time. And we're going to be looking ahead at the rest of the Fairgrounds card. I think we're probably just going to look at the late pick four, the all stakes pick four,
There's a whole
and
bunch of races. You're going to have a lot of fun with that.
yeah, and then we're gonna hopefully I can get the last $100 needed to get to thousand
You're
Bankroll
close.
Building in Bourbon, and end this thing because man, betting Delta and Turfway has been just it's been rough. But
Here's the question for you. Are you desperate enough to end it that you could potentially play a pick four and go all, guarantee a cash and
no,
hope
we're
for a
doing
bomb?
win play show exact trifecta and double only. So
Okay. But let me rephrase that then. A double, all.
no, I mean you would have to. So funny story. The way that Mark won this contest the first time was he had a structured. It was either a structured. I think it was a structured double. And it was like a $200 structure to get like 3-1 on or something in order for him to win. It was disgusting, but yeah, we'll see. I think Mark is down to like 50. I think either Mark's got to rebuy or he's under 100. So really, I think I'm the only one with a shot to win this weekend or this week. So hopefully, I end it. I only need $110, and then Caleb will be happy. Put him out of his misery. But all
Go
right,
get him, Josh. Go get him.
see ya.